everyone, it's Sharonda from Pay or Wait, and today I'm going to be reviewing Power Book 2, Go Season 2, Episode 9, A Fair Fight. And if anyone knows anything about the Power universe, the fight is never fair, okay? I'm talking about a fair fight. Ain't nothing fair about anything that happens in Power. People will do whatever they have to do by any means necessary to make sure they are the ones that come out on top. And we learn a little bit more about this with the decisions that the characters make throughout the course of this episode. So I'm going to start with Tariq, and then I'm going to end on Monet because she got her own mess that she's trying to deal with as well. So as the episode opens, we see that Tariq walks into class and Rashad is, he's writing the lesson of the day, but no one's in there. And so we see that he writes, "Is there such a thing as a fair fight?" And then at this point, we realize that we're in a dream sequence. You see that everything looks gloomy. And then we see the ghosts of Tariq's past, all of the different people that Tariq has had some connection to their murder. We saw Kanan, we saw Ray raggedy behind. Now, Ray was the only one I was just like, now you needed to die. I mean, it ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think everybody can agree, Ray, we have no sympathy for you, all right? But it was nice to see Raina back. I'm not gonna lie. I think I was the most excited to see Proctor. I was like, Proctor, I miss you so much. And it's crazy to think, and I want to give kudos to the writers of this show, because I think everyone's apprehension when Power Book 2 Go started, I think we were all at a point where we were just like, I hate Tariq. I hate him. I want him to die. I can't believe what he did. He murdered his father. I mean, you have to give kudos to them to see where we were at the end of the series finale of Power to where we found ourselves to where we are now in season 2 of Power Book 2 Ghost. At the fact that, we have started to, I don't know about everybody, but we started to empathize a little bit with Tariq. He still ain't Nish, and we know that, but, Tariq has grown on us. And to see all of these ghosts come back to show that, Tariq is the reason that Raina died. Ray thought that they had something to do with it. He got his sister killed. Tariq was the one to leave the door open for Tommy to go and kill Proctor. He is the reason why Lakeisha was killed. Perfect Jabari and Carrie, I don't care, but I know some of y'all got a soft space in your heart for fine Professor Milgram. But I did think it was funny that out of all the people we saw, we knew Kanan has already done many ghost appearances, especially on this season, but to see that, everybody was waiting on ghosts to show up. And then when we see that it's just a phone call that says Dad, I was like, Omari, what did they do to you that you never want to come back? First missed opportunities when it should have been in his voiceover when he read the letter to Tariq when he reads it in jail. And then now, why? What did y'all do to Omari? That Omari wants nothing to do with the Power universe. I just need the real answers, because it made no sense on why Omari would not come back. All these other people came back, but Omari, I respect his decision if he feels like he wanted to make a clean break of it, but I just need some damn answers at this point, okay? So he wakes up because he gets this phone call from Davis, and Davis is asking him, why is Rashad the next up on the prosecution's list to testify? Like, what is happening? What is going on? And so we see in a conversation that Rashad is having with his brother Kamal, where they're kind of talking. And I was like, now, wait a minute. When his phone started ringing and he looks at it and then ignores it, and he was like, hold on, is this one of your hoes on the side? And he was like, nah, man, I know that number. I'm like, wait a minute, not you really got side chicks? What is happening? I guess the apple don't fall too far from the tree. We see how Rashad is. We would have to assume that Kamal was the same way, but that broke my heart a little bit, because I really thought that he was a family man, really being good to his wife. I don't know, have we ever met someone on this show that hasn't cheated on their significant other, on their wife? I don't think that we've met that person yet. But anywho, I was dying laughing when he said that. But Kamal brings up that there is this drunk lady who keeps calling him, saying that, she saw Jabari's murder. And, I'm looking like, okay, so if she saw it, why are you not taking it serious? And then he explains that, the lady has a drinking problem. Also, too, her story has changed. She saw one person the first time, that she saw two people, even though, a drunk man's talk is a sober man's thought. So she probably she was telling the truth, because we know what actually happened to the professor. But we see that Rashad, which we should have known what was coming later in the episode, when he tells him, no, you shouldn't say nothing. Like, if you don't know it's going to lead to something good, just don't say nothing at all. Like, protect your job. And I was just like, the last person that I would be taking advice from right now is Rashad, okay? But we see that, after he tells him, like, no, don't look into it for his own personal gain, then we see Tariq actually going into class. No one is there. We see Rashad is there, and, you know, he was like, hey, you know, because of what happened to the professor, there's no class. But he told him, he was like, you don't think through anything. And it's really funny because I think one of the downfalls of all of our different characters that we've seen across the Power universe is everyone thinks that they're smarter than everyone else. You know, Kane gets himself into these predicaments because he thinks that he can handle stuff on his own and he doesn't need his family. He's smart enough to take care of it. Tariq always thinks that he's one of the smartest people in the room. Even Monet, when she thought that she could outsmart Tariq earlier in the season. And I think it's interesting because it's the same for Tariq as well. And when he tells him that, like, hey, I'm looking forward to testifying in court today, basically saying, if you give me my proof on Weston, like I've been asking you this entire season, then I won't have to testify against you. But let me tell you something, if you don't give me what I need, okay, I'm a wreck your life in court, out of court, up, down the street, whatever it takes, I'm going to bring you down. And so Tariq at this point, he knows what he has to do. This isn't a fair fight, so he has to betray Brayden in order to give Rashad the photo, so Rashad would have what he needs in order to uphold his end of the bargain of helping Tariq in court. And so we see that Rashad is hiding in the bathroom, talking about how he had to smell everybody else and listen to other people taking their number twos. But Tariq ends up handing him the paper. I love how Rashad always curses him out in some way, shape, or form. Like, he just sounds like, you know, that brother that always curse you out, maybe which is me, my brother's always cursing me out for doing dumb stuff. But I like how he talks to him like, bruh, I don't care who you are. Okay, I don't care. Maybe because he actually dealt with his dad and went toe-to-toe with his father as well. So he's just like, you already know I don't like y'all. Be happy I'm trying to help you, okay? Be happy that we can find a mutual agreement in order to help each other achieve their end game, basically. So, in court, when Jenny actually ends up questioning him, I thought he was so disrespectful when he said that Carrie goes the extra mile to do her job. I said, sir, that was so unnecessary. But thank you to the judge, you know, for saying that, hey, Professor Milgram, she was a sexually liberated woman, but that does not affect her character, okay? It is okay to go ahead and get your back broken whenever you feel like it. As long as you're protecting yourself and your partner, it's fine, all right? But we see that while he is being questioned by Jenny, that he ends up throwing his brother under the bus. And I was like, wow, like, I knew there was no lift that Rashad would, like, go to get what he wants, but to throw his brother under the bus, I was like, you are so disrespectful. But this opens up Davis to basically call for a mistrial. They go into the chambers because, you know, this evidence wasn't given to the prosecution during discovery, and so now he wants to ask for a mistrial. When they're called into the chambers, the judge ends up giving Jenny 48 hours to prove that she didn't know about it, that they didn't withhold evidence from the defense team during discovery. If not, the judge is going to dismiss the case and declare a mistrial. So we see that Jenny's play is to go to Brayden's family. And so she interviews Brayden and his brother Trace in front of the family attorney. I was like, go figure that, you know, Brayden's family, because, you know, they disrespectful. They're going to have a black attorney, whatever. But I was dying laughing that, you know, Jenny's trying to get Brayden to rat out Tariq or rat out Kane, and he's just not having it. And then she was like, well, Trace was like, well, hold on, honey. He's lying. Let me tell you guys what happened, okay? He absolutely knows Kane because Kane kidnapped us, okay? And then Detective Ramirez, remember the person that died? He was the one who came and, you know, basically got us, let us go. And so, you know, Ramirez was working for Kane. And Brayden knows about Tariq and Kane dealing drugs together. What else do you need to know? And then Brayden looked at him like, bruh. And I was like, Trace gonna die. And I'm totally okay with this. The only two people left on the kill list is really just Everett and Trace at this point. We had to add Trace after this episode. So, I mean, I'm okay with Trace going. He been needed to go. Obviously, Kane kidnapping him you know, it did nothing to scare him. So I'm totally okay with this. So Jenny actually has evidence of the kidnapping that happened. She shows Brayden and Trace, the family, the photos of Detective Ramirez from his dash cam, with them basically saying like, well, honey, I don't know about you. You saying your brother lying, but it seems like Trace ain't speaking nothing but the truth. So, you know, she asked him like, hey, I need you to testify. I need you to help put Kane in jail. And so Brayden was like, absolutely not. And then Trace was like, call on me. You damn right. Let me know what I need to do. I'm totally okay with testifying, whatever you need from me. I am your person. I was just like, I feel like Trace isn't taking it serious on who he's been dealing with. But clearly Trace doesn't care. He feel like his white privilege will protect him from the streets. So they end up negotiating a deal that if Trace testifies in court, since Brayden won't, that both of them will actually receive immunity, and Jenny actually agrees to this deal. I was like, okay, black girl, you on the wrong side of history here, but you sure did negotiate the hell out of that deal. So Brayden ends up going back to the room and sees Tariq, and they're having a conversation, and Brayden puts two and two together that since Rashad didn't say anything about him in court, that he actually gave Rashad the photo that he told him not to give him. And so they get into this argument, and, you know, he storms out. But later in the episode, we see that Lauren tries to go up to Tariq talking about, don't feel bad about Carrie. Like, don't feel like you had something to do with it. I was like, nah, girl, you know that boy don't care. And why are you sitting up here talking to him anyway, since you are a part of the reason that he is in this predicament at this point in time? But Lauren does end up snitching, saying that Brayden was actually, you know, the star of the case, the main suspect of the case. And that's how they brought it to her. So now he knows this, which doesn't make sense to me. So now that he knows that they were looking into Brayden, why did he trust Brayden to get Lauren? Like, I just feel like this is the point when Rashad told him that you don't always be thinking about stuff. This is the common sense stuff that Tariq just don't be thinking about. So we see that, you know, she tells him that she saw Kane, and then Kane and Brayden are on the wire. So now he's aware of what happened. And Tariq tells her, like, hey, you're dealing with some really dangerous people. Like, you need to run. You need to get out of here. Go to your parents' house. Wait for me to call you, and I'll make sure that you're taken care of. So Effie ends up hanging with Tariq. And, of course, as he always does, he brings up Lauren. I just want to know, Effie, Curtis was supposed to love me. I can't help it, y'all. But Effie, Tariq does not want you. Like, he does not. Now, granted, on paper, it would make sense for him and Effie to be together because she respects that he wants to be in the game and she understands how it goes. But I just feel like Effie been trying way too hard. Like, every time you hanging out with him, he found a way to bring up Lauren. So, like, it's not enough times you can give him some ass to make him forget about her. So just leave this boy alone. He obviously don't want you, boo. And so she gets upset. I did laugh when she called her, what did she call her? A Malibu Barbie snitch. I was dying laughing when she called him that. But Effie was right. Like, Lauren is a snitch. You're sitting up here. I think Tariq has guilt because, you know, he knew that Lauren was too good for him, that he should have left her alone given all of the mess that he was in, but he still chose to lead with his heart and want to be with her. And so that's why he feels responsible for her in the first place. So he ends up leaving, and, you know, he was like, you don't understand about Lauren, and he walks out to go meet up with someone. But we do see, also too, Effie was on some hating stuff, even though she was saying some real stuff, she was still on some hating stuff. But we see Rashad ends up meeting with the DNC. I was dying laughing when his face when he looked at that picture, honey. And Rashad was like, you better not ever underestimate me again. I was dying laughing the entire time. And I think this is still setting us up to Power Book 5 influence. So I'm excited to see what kind of happens with that. I don't think they would keep bringing the DNC guy back into this if they still weren't trying to actively pursue Rashad's show. So Tariq ends up going with his dad's attorney, and he sees where Yaz is staying with her new family. They're celebrating her birthday. They seem like a really loving family, and Tariq tries to get out of the car to go say something to her, and he's like, hey, that's not a good idea. And it's almost like at this point, Tariq has accepted that in order for his sisters to truly be safe, he needs to step back and stay away from her. And maybe this is him, you know, unwillingly taking his father's advice, but, you know, he has to stay away from her in order for her to truly be okay. Monet tells Tariq later in the episode that, you know, that Mecca knows that Tariq has his stuff. And so we see that he ends up having he goes into the bag. He sees the passports with all of Monet's kids, and then he sees this court file with Dante Spears versus like United States of America. He takes a picture, he sends it to Davis, and Davis tells him like, you're messing with a very like dangerous person. Like, he is crazy AF. He is basically one of the biggest snitches out there who has toppled like drug cartels, like all types of different things. And like, you do not want to mess with this person. Like, I don't know how the heck that you didn't found your way into some more mess, but this is not the person that you want to have mess with. And so we see that as Tariq is coming back into his dorm room, Mecca was sitting there waiting, ready. All right. And so I was like, oh Lord, I am really scared. Okay. So I was really scared for Tariq when he walked in, because I was just like, this man telling you like he was so dangerous, the feds protected him, got him out of the country. Then you think about how he tried to tell Monet to go out the country with him. So when he gets there, he sees the stuff actually, you know, they have this conversation, this back and forth, okay? So Tariq is like, you know, what you gonna do, rat me out? He was like, and I was like, wow, like you really talking about the side of your neck, Tariq. Like, I don't understand what's happening. So then Dante just like, do you know who I am? And then he was like, you a global snitcher. And I was like, who wrote that line? Who wrote that line to say a global snitching? I was done. I was so done. I had to pause and laugh for a moment, okay? So Tariq ends up asking for $2 million. And then Dante tells him like, okay, I'll give you a little petty ass $2 million. Who cares? Because I got money. But you'll get it after I give you the bag. After you give me the bag. So Mecca says that, you know, hey, you know, I know about you. I know about your Uncle Tommy. I know about your dad Ghost. And then he was like, and by the way, he was like, I sold Lobos out to the feds, you know, but he never found out because somebody killed him. So he was like, when you see your father in hell, good looking out. Tell him I said good looking out. And I was like, wow. Now, sir, you gonna be in hell too. Pretty much everybody on this show, with the exception of just Lauren, is going to be in hell, all right? But you know, it's still time for y'all to say y'all souls right now, but I don't think y'all try to go down that path. So I was just like, see, you in hell, baby. You're going to be right there with him. Why don't you tell Ghost himself, all right? Okay? But I was still shook when he said it. And he said he was going to do what he said he was going to do. So later he goes back home to deal with Kane. And then we see what happens between her and Monet when she shows up. But I'll get into that a little bit later. So towards the end of the episode, we see that Tariq ends up calling Brayden to tell him, or calling him to tell him that basically, I need you to get Lauren out of town because, you know, all the stuff that was happening with Mecca. So this puts Brayden right into Lauren's arms. It puts Lauren right into Brayden's arms because we saw that because Effie went and snitched and talked to Kane about the wire after Brayden snitched about what was going on as well and talking to Tariq. She goes to Kane to tell Kane about what is happening, how Lauren has him on the wire, how Tariq was just going to let it ride. This is also her too hating at the same time. But because of this, Kane tells Brayden that you need to take care of Lauren or I'm going to kill you myself. And so Brayden takes her and, you know, it looks like he's about to kill her. He pulls the gun on her, but he can't do it. He hands her some money, tell her to get out of town, go to the bus stop, stay off the grid. But then Effie shows up and then Effie knocks her out, puts her in a car, takes the bag, and they kind of have a look. So I don't know if Lauren is really dead. We saw when Effie came back to Tariq's place and got in the bed, she looked very guilty, but I don't know. It just felt like there was something unspoken between her and Brayden, almost like they had an understanding, or maybe Brayden told her to take care of it so he wouldn't have to do it and he would pay her the money. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. That's still a little iffy about what's happening, whether or not Lauren is or is not dead. But I'm assuming she's dead because that was foreshadowing actually seeing Lauren in Tariq's dream, because she's another person who has now, you know, potentially lost her life because of being involved with Tariq. But let's talk about Monet, because Monet got a lot of crazy stuff coming on after Diana just dropped the mic at the end of last week's episode. Monet sees the article about Carrie dying. She calls Zeke, and then when she told Mecca he not answering my phones, I said, well, bitch, I wonder why. Like, all of the dialogue with Monet and Zeke was just sending me. I was like, who wrote this, okay? Because they were being so petty with these lines. So she told Mecca was like, I'm gonna go talk to him. She was like, you don't know him like I do. I said, well, call on me again. He don't know about him because of you. So I was just like, Monet be so oblivious sometimes, and it really be confusing me every single episode how oblivious she is about the role that she plays in destroying people's lives. So what I do want to know is what petty writer in the ghost writing room gave Zeke the line, or gave Monet the line to talking about Zeke don't know how to think things through on his own. I said, well, babe, I could have been told you that, but who put that line in there? Because y'all know y'all petty since we already think that Zeke is slow, okay? So Zeke ends up texting Mecca saying that he wants to see him. She's like, okay, I'm gonna get myself. Like, bitch, you ain't going, because Zeke said he wanted me to meet me alone. So Mecca is, he ends up going back to his lair, because I'm just going to call it his lair at this point. He goes back to his lair, and then Kate acts like, oh, okay, cool, bet, I'm finna go. He was like, bitch, you ain't going nowhere. So Kate is being held hostage at this point. He gets a promotion, says he's the number 2. Then Kate was like, hey, man, I don't, like, thank you for the promotion, but I gotta go. And so then he pulled a cleaver on him. He was like, put your hand down. I was like, Lord, he is not finna chop this boy hand off. But he makes him put his fingerprint in because he's his number 2 now. And so he can track everywhere he goes. And this is how, you know, Kane starts to get a little shook because now he can track his every move. So he has to move, well, whenever Mecca decides to let him leave the place, he has to move with purpose at this point. So he tells Kane to call his dad and tell him that there's no more product. And, you know, Lorenzo is clearly upset. But when Drew came in, like, you saw the whole, like, he ransacked the whole house, their room. When Drew came in and said, Dad, is everything okay? I said, bitch, do you see this room? Do it look like everything is okay? The Tejada's dialogue, I be like, y'all are some of the slowest people ever in life because the stuff y'all be asking, it just don't be making sense to me. So Drew ends up snitching on everybody. Diana co-signing the snitch, talking about how they stole the product. Lorenzo gets upset. He says, y'all need to go steal my product back from Tariq. And, you know, maybe I'll forgive you guys or maybe I can trust you again, which is really weird with these parental dynamics between Lorenzo and Monet, like saying, if you go do this other illegal thing, then I might trust you again. Like, y'all are just not good parents at all. So Zeke ends up meeting with Mecca, and, you know, Mecca's trying to just make him feel better. Like, hey, you know, things are gonna be okay. Just keep pushing. Like, how about I get you a personal coach so you can work one-on-one every day. You can drop out of school and just work on getting into the draft. Which is interesting because later when we see, he tells him that the only caveat to this is he has to meet with Monet and talk to her. I find it funny because when Zeke is having the press conference, when he's talking about how he's distancing himself away from his family, how he's going to drop out of school, and then the whole thing comes out about Zeke's age in the papers, we see that I think, at first I thought it was Lorenzo, but I truly think that it was Mecca who leaked this information in order to force all of them to have nowhere else to run to. Kind of like what Monet was saying about if Carrie was still going to be there, Zeke would have never came back to her, and the same thing for Mecca. And so because when Monet lost everything, she had to go back to Mecca. And when Zeke lost everything, he had to reach out to Mecca. So I think it was actually him, and he even staged a little shootout thing that happened when they got shot at on the basketball court. I'm starting to think that it was actually Mecca and not Lorenzo, because I don't even think Lorenzo cares enough. What reporters he knows to go call and be like, hey, let me tell you what, I just don't think that Lorenzo cares that much. So I liked when later in the episode we see that Drew has this conversation with Diana, and I like that he told her, like, everything that happens in this family is because you can't stop running your mouth and you in everybody's business. And I was like, exactly. But they come up with this plan on how to get the product back. And so Diana comes up with this plan that actually works, in which she manipulates Tariq into letting his guard down, telling him the truth in order to, you know, kind of gain sympathy to where he will let his guard down. His dumb behind go get the water for that she asked for, and then she ends up stealing the QR code, and Drew and Diana, they go steal the product. So I thought it was funny that when they bring the product back to Lorenzo, Diana's still looking there stupid because you didn't see how he just welcomes Drew back in, like, come on, let's go make our runs. And he kind of just walked past Diana like she still didn't matter. Going back to what Monet said, about how, like, they're always going to push Diana out just like they tried to push her out. So it's like she's starting to pick up on some of the stuff that her mom was saying in between her mom, you know, violently, physically and verbally abusing her as well. So we see that Monet and Zeke and them, you know, they actually end up having a conversation. And you know, Monet is given this opportunity to tell the truth. She talks about how she was pregnant at 16, how she went down south to have the baby with her family, and how her relative, you know, she couldn't have kids and she loved Zeke and raised Zeke as her own. And then when they realized that New York was the best place for him to be for basketball, she was happy that she even had the opportunity to be her aunt again. So Zeke is really not like here for this, and he kind of calls her out her BS, and he was like, let me ask you one question. Like, did you have something to do with Carrie's death? And she was like, no, it's, you know, after everything that happened, I went straight to Mecca's place. Mecca looking like, hold on, bitch, you definitely did not come straight to my place. So, like, I know this whole line, but he gonna go ahead and co-sign like a dummy anyway, because it's clear that Monet does not like Dante like that. Like, she just doesn't. I never feel the chemistry between them. It always feels forced. They end up lying to him, and, you know, he was like, okay, well, I'm just going to focus on being drafted, and then I'm done with y'all, and y'all can forget about me again. Zeke's face of this entire episode was sending me. I'm trying not to go in on Zeke too much, because he does provide us our comedic relief with all the craziness that is going on. But Zeke was on another level this episode. I'm just saying. Also, too, when I watched the previews from last week, recap, I forgot how his face looked when he saw Carrie's. I was dying laughing at that as well. But we see that Drew has his part to play as well in this whole little scheme for them to rob. He ended up, you know, getting on with Everett. And as much as I talk about how Everett needs to die, he does need to die. It is nice to see, like, two black men who don't follow typical media stereotypes of black gay men, and to see like some type of black love on screen, gay love on screen. It is nice to see that. I mean, Everett still needs to die, but I don't want to like say that it wasn't nice to see that as well. But it's interesting that when Everett brings up the fact that Drew's hand is fully healed and he tells him you can draw a tattoo, he gets upset and walks away. Like, it's almost like Drew had to tell himself that I have to completely walk away from the life that I thought I could have in order to do what I need to do for my family. So this is how he goes into the bathroom. He sees Everett's plans and he steals the key card, and they do what they need to do. So we already talked about the press conference and all of that, and the article came out. I talked about Effie snitching. You know, I'm just trying to follow my notes to make sure I go through everything. I think I pretty much got everything together. I mean, when Mecca comes back to his place to curse Kane out, he sees Monet, and Monet basically comes up with this plan that they're all going to leave with them, but they have to kill Lorenzo before they leave. She doesn't want to have any loose ends. It felt weird because I didn't feel like that would be Kane's genuine reaction. He was like, what, this is Dante like Zeke said? I was just like, that's not how Kane will respond to or react to it. So I think that she is trying to get rid of Lorenzo and Mecca at the same time. But for me, I don't know. I don't think Mecca's going to let them play him. I think Mecca's way too smart to see through this whole little happy family kumbaya. So I don't know what's actually going to happen with that. But I did like how Kane, when he thought he was going to die, he called Monet to tell her, like, I love you, and tell everybody goodbye. And she was like, hold on, bro. Like, this dude that left you in the house, like, put common sense with this. If he wanted you dead, you would have been dead. And when she asked for the picture, I was like, Monet gonna make sure that all of this is taken care of in the first place. But what I will say is, overall for me, this is a really, really good episode. I mean, the writing, even though the petty lines that they gave for Monet and Zeke this episode, the story gets better and better every single week. Like, now knowing that Mecca has these ties to Lobos, to Ghost, that he is even more dangerous, I just find it weird for anyone to really count Mecca out. I'm sure after watching this episode, everyone's going to be like, yo, Monet is going to make sure that Mecca gets killed. But if Mecca has taken down cartels, Lobos, all of these dangerous people, do you really think that he's not afraid to snitch and rat out Lorenzo and do it to Nene for betraying his trust and making him feel like, you know, they still had a chance for the whole family to be together? I don't think that Mecca is going to be that easy to count out at this point. What is Tariq going to do when he realizes his product is gone? What is going to happen to Brayden once, if Effie did kill Lauren, and if Effie and Brayden didn't have no plan for her to do it the whole time? what is going to happen when Effie tells Kane what Brayden did? Is because Brayden is going to fear for his life? Is this going to make him rat out on, is it going to make him take the stand and testify against Kane in order for Kane to be put in jail to protect his own life? We don't know, but what we do know is it's never a fair fight. Everyone has to fight fire with fire, and everybody has to get their hands dirty. I do like that Effie called Brayden out about, you know, you ran towards the game. Like, no one just be choosing the game all willy-nilly like you, and so you have to deal with the consequences of what that has to offer now that you're in too deep. I like that she checked him on that. But there's a lot at stake. There's a lot that could potentially happen. Even though Davis had a win in court, there is still this other lady who now can implicate both Tariq and Kane in this murder. And so we have to figure out what is that, like, how is that going to play into it? We see in the previews for next episode that Mecca is already reneging on the whole part about killing Lorenzo. I think he's on to Monet and Kane's plan of them trying to get rid of him. And I don't think we should count him out yet. So I'm excited to see what the hell is going to happen in the season finale. But yeah, like, let me know in the comment section below for those of y'all who actually make it to the end of this video. If you want to talk predictions for episode 10 for the season finale, let me know in the comment section below and we can chat about that tomorrow or Tuesday possibly. But yeah, like, those are my quick thoughts. This is a really good episode. I really love where they're going with this. Can't wait for it to be confirmed whether or not Lauren actually was killed. But those are my thoughts on Power Book 2 Go Season 2, Episode 9, A Fair Fight. As always, my name is Sharana from Pay or Waits, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000, and until I see you again, bye!